This evening, I want to talk about emptiness of self. So I asked the question, as you were practicing mindfulness of the body, as you were practicing mindfulness of breathing and thoughts arose, did you find any common theme in the thoughts that disturbed your meditation or took you away from the present moment? Was there a recurring theme to what you thought about? It's mostly about me, isn't it? What happened to me, planning for tomorrow, what's going to happen to me, what happened to me in the past, what I'm going to do for my work, how are my relationships going, how's my money doing, how's my health? I find most of the thoughts that take me away from the present moment are about me. You know, I'm not dwelling as much on the humanitarian needs of Sudan. I am mostly thinking about things that affect me. And if you look at what the self, the I, is preoccupied about, it's things like what I like, what I don't like, what's going to be pleasant for me, what's going to be unpleasant. What did I do in the past that worked? What did I do in the past that didn't work, that was embarrassing, shameful, or whatever? How's my body standing up to the changes that aging brings, that illness can bring? So I found this really interesting when it just jumped out at me. I asked the question, what takes away from the present moment? And I found it was selfing. Preoccupation with concerns of self. And then I also looked at, okay, when these thought excursions came along, did I come back into the present moment more settled than when I took off? Or did these thoughts stir up more agitation in the mind? Thoughts of past and future and successes and failures and praise and blame and all of that. I found they stirred up my mind more. So, yeah, as the comment is, does not help at all. The thought excursions don't really seem to help. They don't solve our fundamental problem of the unsatisfactoriness of conditioned existence, but they stir it up more and lead to greater agitation. So this is what we deal with as meditators. We are coming into the present moment as a way of finding greater peace. As we settle more in the present, we found the factor of calm, peace of mind, tranquility, ease, comfort, relaxation. All these factors tend to grow. And when we simply let the thoughts run on and on and on, proliferating, multiplying, growing bigger about I, me, mine, then the mind tends to get more stirred up, less peace, less calm, less satisfaction, and so forth. So this ties in to this notion of emptiness. And I want to read this quote from the Buddha. You may know of the monk Ananda, who was a cousin of the Buddha's. So he was always wanting to learn. He came to the Buddha and he said, Bhante, Venerable Sir, you talk about the world being empty. What do you mean by saying the world is empty? And the Buddha replied, the world is empty because it is empty of a self or of what belongs to a self. So this basically is I and my. There is no real basis in the world for I and my. This was the Buddha's pointing. Now, this is kind of news if we are not familiar with the Buddha's teachings before. This is kind of jarring. What do you mean there's no me? I mean, I'm right here, I'm talking to you, and I'm experiencing things, and I show up all the time. What do you mean there's no self here? Of course, we want to understand there is a being, but this being is composed of changing impermanent processes. This is the essential meaning. We can describe it as a Mario Lane or a guy or whoever, but if we look closely, there is only change. There is not an ongoing permanent entity within this field, which we take the self to be. We think the self is permanent, otherwise why would death be unsettling? Because it means the end of what we think is a permanent entity.